there are signs that strife is in you. And we're going to talk about that here on Choosing Your Future to make sure that we're not in strife with ourselves and strife with others. Stay tuned.
Life is not about you living in the past. It's not about you living in fear. It's about your dreams. It's about what you believe. Life is about you choosing your future.
Lessons for the future begin here.
Welcome to the Choosing Your Future podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We have people listening around the world, and we're thankful for that. Also, if you get a chance, check out the website at choosingyourfuture.org. You can check us out on social media. There's all kinds of stuff on there. There's other episodes you can listen to and connections to some of the blog stuff. But we're so thankful you listen to us. And if you like the podcast, please share it with somebody if you think it might help them, because the goal here is to help you choose your future, meaning we want you to choose the right path for your life so that you can accomplish everything God's got planned for you. And it's our responsibility to make those right choices. And so that's why we're here. And as we make choices, we want to help you make choices that are good and beneficial not only to God, but to others and humanity in itself. We're talking about the concept of strife. And where we left off, we talked about how strife, normally when we talk about strife, we think about it as, well, we can only be in strife with other people, but actually you can be in strife within yourself, and it affects your life. And what happens is that if you don't deal with it, then it ends up carrying over into other relationships. So now you find yourself in strife with other people. And where we left off, we talked about some things that show that there's strife in us. One was hate. We looked at Proverbs 10:12, and we looked at what a scoffer is. A scoffer is a doubter. Proverbs talks about three different kinds of people. It talks about the simpleton, the scoffer, and the fool. And a simpleton is one that's easily led astray. He can be changed, okay? He can become wise, but if he doesn't get wise, he is easily led astray. The scoffer is the doubter, and they're hard to change. They have a tendency to doubt everything. They mock everything. And then the fool is the one who rejects things. It's right before him, but he rejects it. He knows it, but he rejects it. And so we talked about how scoffing or being a doubter of yourself, okay? Does God love me? Does God care? Do people care? These kind of things can cause strife in us. Now, the thing about strife is that it always follows up with words. A person of strife always has words that are not productive. So where there's strife, there's evil speech, okay? Evil words. And so when you see somebody that's talking negatively about themselves all the time, what the issue is, there is a strife issue, a conflict within themselves. And we talked about on the last episode many definitions or words for strife. And so lots of times, like I said, we don't think about strife as being something that we have with ourselves. It's always with other people. But the reason why we have strife with other people is because there's strife within ourselves. And so what we want to do is eliminate that so that, number one, we value our life, number one. Number two, we value other people's lives. And we speak things to people that don't cause strife, that aren't quarrelsome, that bring peace and edification, love and mercy and correction. Now, some people get correction and strife confused, but only a person who doesn't receive correction is full of strife, okay? And so what I want us to do is look at a few more things that, are considered triggers of strife. We talked about hate, and we talked about the scoffer. Now, a person that is hot-tempered, we also mentioned dishonest. A person that's dishonest is a person of strife, okay? But we talked about people that are hot-tempered, or that's what we're talking about now. People that are hot-tempered. I'm sure you don't know anybody with that problem. And I'm sure none of you have ever been hot-tempered. But people who are hot-tempered are actually having strife within themselves. Okay? These are people that I am convinced that part of strife, internal strife, does. It gets us to hate ourselves to the point that we have such hatred. And the thing about it is, I don't think we realize it. We have such hatred towards ourselves. And if we don't correct that, okay, if we don't correct that, then we're going to find ourselves in a situation that carries over. And before you know it, man, we are blasting everybody with everything and anything. And so we have to deal with this. And so when a person is hot-tempered, they fly off easy. Many times it's because they're more frustrated with themselves than they are with anything else. They are literally so angry at themselves, they don't know how to communicate it. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't know. There's a lot of guilt and condemnation in themselves. Let me read you this scripture. Proverbs 15:18 says, "A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contentions." Recently, I had a family member in the hospital, and they had a roommate. And when I first walked in, I saw this roommate that they had, and I could automatically tell, man, there's some hate in there. They didn't have to say a word, and there were some huge unforgiveness issues. And this person, was real nice to the nurses, and all of a sudden, a flip of the switch, and I mean, man, it was like venom coming out of their mouth. They were so angry, and the nurses were doing nothing. They were doing a superb job in trying to help them, and it just wasn't received at all. And then the next minute they were nice, and then at a flip of the switch, get angry, hot-tempered. And lo and behold, they let it out that there was some hate issues and unforgiveness issues with some family members. And I thought to myself, and I told my family member, I said, look, don't take this. They're not talking to you. Don't let this bother you. They're on the other side of the room. I know it's hard. I know you don't feel bad, but don't let it bother you, because this person is hurting on the other side of that curtain, and they're dealing with some issues. So try and tune it out. Pray for them, that kind of a thing. And so it was creating strife throughout the whole floor of that hospital. It was affecting the nurses. It was affecting, matter of fact, this person had several roommates because they couldn't get along. They couldn't handle the shouting and all that. And so I told my family, I said, look, this is an opportunity here. This is an opportunity. So lo and behold, patience had to be exercised, and the truth came out. But what it was doing, this hot-tempered action, this hate, which we talked about in the last episode, this lack of self-worth, okay, this whole issue of strife within this person was now reaching a boiling point. It was creating strife into everybody else. Let me read the last part of this verse because I think it's important. But he who is slow to anger quiets contention. If my family member would have done what other people had done and kind of got upset with this person, all it would have done was create contention in her and my family member. which would probably carry it over into other family members, you know. But see, this is the part where wisdom plays in. When we see people that are full of hate in themselves, when we see people that are contentious, and when we see people that are struggling, we've got to discern, okay, is this a personal issue or is this an issue with everybody else? And when we discern where it's at, we can, show more patience, show more love, and hopefully guidance. Now, so we see here that being hot-tempered can affect and cause strife in us. That's a warning sign. Greediness. Okay, this is another thing that causes strife. When a person is greedy, they really take the strife level up a little bit because it's about them. When you're a greedy person, you're not thinking of others, okay? And it becomes about you, not everybody else. And so this is a warning point. Proverbs 28:25 says this: a greedy man stirs up strife, but the one who trusts in the Lord will be enriched. How can you be greedy with yourself? Well, it's very simple. This verse just answered it. When we don't trust God enough, we're greedy. Not trusting God is being greedy with our own life. And God's saying, look, I want you to trust me for everything. I want you to trust me for everything in your life. But when we have strife with us, we feel like we can't trust anybody, even God. And so what we have a tendency to do is try and handle this on our own, and it can't be done. It can't be done. We can worry about life, or we can just trust God with life that know all things will work out. Again, your life is divine. It comes from a divine God, which means it's of God and from God. And every day is a blessing. Even in your trials, even in your troubles, it's still a blessing. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow, and it's an opportunity to help people. Trust Him with your life. In everything, trust Him. And it's hard. It's greedy for me not to trust God. It's greedy for me not to trust God with my health. Now, I have to do certain things. We all have to do certain things. With my finances, I have to do certain things. If you don't manage your stuff, Proverbs says, know the state of your flock. But with everything, we have to have some trust here. Because all strife does is raises the levels in our body that causes us to be unhealthy. Strife triggers stress. And when stress starts entering into the body, it starts affecting everything from sleep to heart to mind to breathing to digestion. You name it, it triggers it all. All because a person is full of strife within themselves. And you may not be at the level where you're at strife with somebody else, but you are with yourself, and you quarrel amongst yourself. You speak negative about yourself. You start, doubting everything and complaining about everything in your life. And on the outside, to other people, you smile and you say, you know what? Everything's good. No complaints. Hey, everything's wonderful. And it's a facade. It's not real. All because you are at strife within yourself. Stop it. Your life is valuable. There's people that love you. There's a God that loves you, more importantly. And there's an opportunity to escape strife in you by saying, my life is valuable. Lord, I trust you with it. All things will work out if I just be patient. Get rid of the strife in you so you can affect others.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing Your Future podcast. For more information, please visit choosingyourfuture.org. That's choosingyourfuture.org.